Good morning, book lovers of the internet. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing this book, which I've been telling you about for quite a long time now, called Abroad in Japan by the very popular YouTuber called Chris Broad. So this consists of 309 pages and I rated it 5 stars. In fact, it was a very easy 5-star read, and I don't think I would have been able to put this book down hadn't it been for my participation in the Camino de Santiago last week, which took up so much of my time and yet was such an enjoyable and unforgettable experience. So I had a lot of time to read during my stay in Spain, both while on the plane and the train and the underground and in the residences I stayed at. And apart from scrolling through social media, which is something that is quite inevitable to do nowadays, I would often read through this autobiography multiple chapters at a go. And one thing that I kept thinking of with every chapter I got through is that Chris Broad is basically a man who has lived the life that I've been dreaming of living for a very long time, yet do not have the finances the finances I need in order to do so. So even prior to knowing of the existence of his YouTube channel, I've been meaning to teach English in Japan and also become quite a popular YouTuber. It's something that I've been working on for several years now, and I must admit that this was one of the most relatable books I could have read, and it was a perfect book to read while traveling to Spain. So, as you probably know, I am a YouTuber myself, and some of you have been following my channel for a long time now. I am an aspiring English teacher, and I've also spent 2 summers teaching English to foreigners, and also a 20-year-old hoping to escape from Malta and someday move to Japan. And with those 3 factors, this book spoke to me in volumes. I mean, as I mentioned, it's extremely relatable since it's basically my life as lived by another person who I look up to and admire very much. I found this book to be extremely interesting. I mean, I gave it 5 stars. It has to be, right? It made me chuckle a couple of times, multiple times in fact, and that is something that I can say of a very few books which I've read. And it is also filled with knowledge regarding the land of the rising sun. And yeah, in other words, it's the perfect book you can read if traveling is on your calendar for the next few months or years. You should definitely buy this book, as I cannot recommend it enough. I am also rather certain that I am one of the very first people in the world to have read this book, since it was published so recently. It was published earlier this year, and I ordered it from Blackwell's, which means that I got it earlier than it would usually have been delivered had I ordered it from any other bookshop. And I've now been watching Chris Broad's YouTube channel for a very long time, several years in fact, and he never fails to entertain, with his snarky comments and brilliant sarcasm, both with friends and with people he doesn't really know, strangers. And those aspects also made their way into this book, and they truly gave the autobiography an ulterior sense of familiarity, which made it all the more compelling. There were many things mentioned here that came as a shock to the author, and since I am now aware of them, I'll definitely be on the lookout for them if I am ever able to execute my dream of going to Japan and becoming a YouTuber or teaching English over there. And certain things which I could relate to and yet still know that there'll be an issue once I'm there. I am already rather fluent in English, right? So teaching the language there would present no issue. However, I think that the language barrier would be when it comes to knowing and understanding Japanese, since I'll have a whole classroom full of Japanese students, as Chris himself had. If I do not know the language at least rather well, I won't be able to teach English very well either, which will certainly cause quite an issue. And I definitely need to start practicing right away, and this is the perfect motivation to help me want to do so. I also appreciate Chris Broad's awareness and respect for the Japanese culture. It is certainly uncanny, and it is brilliant to see that despite his problems with anxiety, he is very capable of adapting to change. And it is also something which I plan to do, you know. There will obviously be issues going to a foreign country with so many differences in culture and excluding the language. So I do consider myself to be quite a respectful person, even if I am slightly too diplomatic sometimes. And I know that I'll be perceived as a gaijin or a foreigner when I'm there, so certain people might view me in a different way, but I am sure that that is a hurdle which I will be able to eventually overcome, you know? It was also quite fascinating to see the transition of Chris from being an English teacher to setting off to complete and execute his dream of becoming a YouTuber, traveling across Japan and learning all about the 47 regions in the country, I believe. And that indeed made me hopeful about the trajectory of my own channel, either BookNerd0802 or WasabiFan0802, which it may someday take, you know. Hopefully I'll have thousands of subscribers in a couple of months, and then I'll be able to make it my full-time job as well, speaking about books and doing what I absolutely love doing, which is reading and learning new languages as well as teaching them. And one final note is that I rated this 5 stars because although I haven't completed much of what Chris Broad actually has, and something which I am extremely envious of, I am rather certain that I'll do so relatively soon into the future, you know? I mean, I understand that Chris was rather lucky when it came to doing all this, but then again, if somebody like Chris was capable to do it, I don't see why I will not be able to sometime in the near future, perhaps in the next 5 or 10 years, I suppose. And that's all I have to say about this book. It was an absolute pleasure reading this, and I hope to someday perhaps collaborate with Chris Broad himself. It is a dream of mine to collaborate with somebody I look up to so much, who has taught me a lot about a country I love, and that's basically it. I mean, I'm sure that he will not watch this, but if he does, I hope that my comments regarding his book are honest, obviously, and that he enjoys listening to me complimenting him all throughout the video. So thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully very, very soon. Thank you for watching.